Right, today I'm really excited to have Art Snarzyk with InnerView Advisors with us today. We're going to take you through some of the TTI tools that you can use to enhance your hiring process and get qualified candidates and understand if they match what you're trying to do and if they'll be a good fit for your company. So, Art, thanks for bringing your expertise, and I'll let you take it away.
I'm excited. Thank you, Scott. I think it's a great opportunity to kind of share what we're doing with all of the clients and some of the packages we put together. But a lot of times the clients will say, how do we use this in hiring? And typically you would have seen a resume by now, maybe talked with a candidate and done a phone or in-person interview and liked them and said, I really want them to fit. So that's typically when you bring me in. And if you don't want help in the early stages getting clear and helping to structure up a job ad and things like that, you just want to use these assessments, you bring me in after an interview, just kind of check your gut, make sure things are still feeling good and look for red flags. And in most cases, you'd give me a job description, maybe your job advertisement with some information about it. And then we would either have a conversation about the results, as you see on the left of the screen here, versus the job description or ad you see on the right of the screen, or you and I would have a conversation. Sometimes we might want to talk about it a little bit more. I might see some things in here that we want to discuss. They fit in certain ways, but is this okay? Maybe they don't have this skill that you wanted. So I don't know. Scott, I'm thinking about just going over some of these, maybe comparing. I have 3 candidates and 3 project managers. You want me to try to match them up, or any way you want to go about this?
Yeah, why don't we do it that way? That sounds like that sounds like it'd be fun.
All right, sounds good. Well, the project manager, the first thing I want to just get clear about with everyone that's listening is when you're hiring, the biggest mistake I see with all businesses is they don't differentiate between a job ad and a job description. So a job description is like, what do you have to do? What are the details? And a job ad is a job advertisement. How do I advertise this job so it's compelling? So make sure that you're really clear about your job so you write a good job ad. These are job descriptions, and that might have some pay stuff in it, but these are descriptions. Anyway, I'm going to look over the description and see, what does this project manager have to do? They have to, all right, so they're going to manage all the stuff in the shop, the materials, vehicles. Seen it before. I'm going to blow through it because I've seen it before, but you take time and pause this if you want. Project management. Gotcha. So not just running our guys, right? It's going to be managing the customers. So projects are complete. So we're going to do quality control, field communication. So we're talking about the customers and the guys. That's important to me. I want to know, are these candidates, are they people? Are they more customer type of people? Can they lead people? Or are they just kind of yes people and helpful people? So I want to know those kinds of things, kind of get a feel for this job. Scheduling, so some tactical, some thinking, managing a project schedule, a lot of firefighting, right, with rain delays and things like that in construction. So knowing the job, super important. That's what I'm doing, just getting clear here. Timesheet approval. So we're looking at some admin stuff, that mundane, everybody has to do it. I got to send you an invoice. I don't want to, but I will. Timesheet approval. That's what they're going to have to do. HR, hiring. Mm-hmm. So the really diverse stuff here. I got to manage customers. I have to manage our employees. I have to make sure that all those employees behave in the HR ways. We're looking at placing ads and interviewing and making sure we get the right people. Discipline, termination, probably development. If I were coaching this person, I'd say, how much development are they going to do? Oh, there it is, training.
Yeah.
So, well done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go look at this profile and kind of see, maybe just highlight some things that this profile here, it's a 70-page report with some really cool pages you can read on your own. I'd give you a highlight of these charts and graphs, and I'll show you in a few minutes what those other pages look like for your future. But in DISC, we're looking at how someone behaves. What's their the preferred behavioral style? I'm not going to get deep into these sciences. It'll be more fun when we do and you want to learn. But based on this, I see this as an outgoing person, maybe indirect, is not going to be real, may wait for the right time to say things, talkative, right? But if the building's on fire, may not knock on your door to tell you so, right? But so I'd look at them to be friendly and non-confrontational. doesn't push too hard, likes some routine, but can shuck and jive, if things aren't perfect every day, isn't too rigid with the routines as somebody who would score here, and isn't flippant with routines, or haphazard or urgent maybe. And also has some degree of detail orientation, which will be good for some of that scheduling and timesheet approval and, that tedious admin, tasky stuff. This is detail orientation and being correct and perfect about it. So what I would say based on this is this style is now a pushy leader. I might want to ask this project manager, the owner of this company, do they have problems in their field right now? If they do, and they really need a real butt kicker, somebody who's really going to put their finger in some people's chests and say, this has to go faster. This may not be that person. This is more of a friendly, a lead by your side kind of guy. Come on, team. How can I support you? We're going to do this. I don't want to hear about those troubles and that we're out of paint. That frustrates me. I don't like the surprise call at 6:00 tonight, or I got to go fire somebody. He wants to be a leader, a friendly, fun, loving, optimistic, kumbaya leader. So it's important to know that, right? Mm-hmm. Very different. And if he had just come into your interview and said, yeah, I've been a great project manager in the past, in a nice company where all the rules were great and those employees have been there a long time, not in your company where there's chaos and you're not hitting numbers and we're wasting paint and guys are stealing stuff and the van has flat tires, right? That's not this guy. So very important. His values, I'm looking at his values, and in these values, they tell us what this person loves and kind of what draws them. So this is a person who really loves this purple thing, this aesthetic, and they're driven for beauty and form and harmony in life. So they want to work in a nice experience, which is really going to play well to some of that HR stuff. They want to create a great hiring, employment experience, employment journey for the employees. They want to make sure that those employees are supported and the workplace feels good. They're also driven by learning. That's their second motivator. So this theoretical is a passion for learning. So they want to learn all the ways to teach people the culture. Usually in production management, especially when we're going to talk about things like project management, making sure that the projects are complete and quality control. I'm sure there's going to be, if I read real deeply, there's going to be like, oh, here's AWOs, right? There's going to be some, did you do it on time kind of stuff. And that's usually pulled from this utilitarian, this gold bar. This person isn't super driven by that. And I'd like to see that a little bit higher in my project managers. Not this is a bad person. This is a great kumbaya, learning, culture person. But isn't driven by results and ROI and efficiency and squeezing that limit and saying we got that 45-hour job done at 40, and that kind of thing. They're more like, hey, client was happy. They enjoyed it. Our team loved it. We did the right things because it was the educated things. And we made a few bucks. Whereas a high utilitarian is going to say, yeah, well, that's cool. How many bucks, right? Yeah. So you just have to know. We get to know that before we hire the person. And this skill set is amazing. As I show you some other candidates, you're going to see that these colors here mean how developed are these things. And the darker the blue, the more developed. And most people don't have this many dark blue things. This person has a great, great skill set and probably has excelled in their previous roles. So when they come in and interview for your project manager, you're going to fall in love with this person. Because you know what they like? They like making you happy. They're warm, non-confrontational, easygoing. They're a yes person. They have all these awesome skills, interpersonal skills, self-management. They can do the job and they're happy. They're going to talk you into it. They want you to feel good about this. They're going to give you good reasons why this is a good fit. And if this happens to be one of those, I need you to stick your finger in somebody's chest. I need you to get these people working right and fix some problems that are really tragic right now. And we're under a lot of stress. You're going to kill this person and they're not going to make you happy. It's a different person.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of conversations we have with a great clear thinker. There's a lot going on in here, but some things we can pick up is how engaged are they with other people? Do they understand other people and how do they feel about other people? How do they feel about themselves? Do they know where they're going in their future? here's a cool insight that I would give this person, this business owner, if they were wanting to know if this person is going to work here. I would say this person is so clear about where they're headed in their future. They know where they're going. They know what they want their future to look like. And they're so positive they're going to get there that you can only stand in their way. So I would just encourage this business owner to say, hey, you know where you're going in life. How is working here for the next few years going to help? How can we help you get there, wherever that is? And they're going to tell you where that is, and then they're going to love you for wanting to support that. And you're going to get an employee who won't be a flight risk.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
So, and let me just kind of speak to the sample job description. There's a lot in there, including the kitchen sink. So the reality is you're not going to probably find someone that is awesome at all these things. And your job description might not have some things, like you might not need this person to hire. You might not need them to approve timesheets or whatever. But this is just an example. So just need to say that up front. But Art, using this assessment for this job description, project manager, as we see it, would you say that this is a good candidate for this position or probably not?
This one I would be on the fence about. This one would take more conversation because I would want to know where they're at in that stage of business. What kind of project manager? I know what they're going to do, but do you know, how bad is the pain in certain areas? You know, is culture really your issue or numbers really your issue right now? Because this person managed those two things well. And the most important thing are these values, these motivators, and driving forces. This is the want to. Does he want to sell? He doesn't want to sell, right? Does he want to go out to a charity? He doesn't want to go out to a charity. He wants to create a rich environment for people, for his coworkers, for the customers. So this one isn't a yes, no. This is a, let's use all of the pieces that we have. We also have a resume. We have to talk with the person, maybe ask some questions of past employers, and just be aware that this guy's super skilled. And if we say that he's probably the right person, he's got the skills to do it. That's a hell of a skill set.
Yeah. Now, just real quickly, could you tell everybody the difference between the adaptive style and the natural style in the DISC section?
Sure, yeah. And it's something that many of my colleagues, just get wrong if they don't study this stuff deeply. The natural style in DISC is a measure of how do we like to behave. So the natural style is, how do I like to show up if I just get to show up and be me, right? I'm relaxed with Scott. I'm having a martini on the beach or whatever you do, right? I'm just being easy. The adapted style is, how do I see myself having to be over the last 3 to 6 months in order to deal with my life events? Okay. So your natural style is going to be pretty consistent over the years, unless you have like a really significant life event that really rocks your world. You're usually going to have that natural style for most of your life. The adapted style might change a couple times this year. You know, you get a new job, or you get your hand slapped at work. Usually if there's a change in that, I might say, hey, this person's under some stress. You know, they like to be this detailed at 58, but currently they see themselves not being as detailed, and they're stressed out because they like to be detailed. They don't have enough time to do the details.
Yeah.
So does that help?
And yeah, it does. And then could you quickly tell everybody what the motivators, each one, what are the sort of the definition of each one of those motivators?
Yeah, I'd love to. So each motivator, the red one, the theoretical, is a passion for learning. So what do I get to learn today on the high end? On the low end, this isn't a measure of IQ. It's a measure of our passions. On the low end, those people are not driven by that. It just means, what do I have to learn today in order to fulfill my other motivators? So high theoreticals are going to be researchers, or know why we dial up a paint sprayer to this PSI, right? They just know those things because they love learning it. The utilitarian, the gold bar on the high end, is about utility and efficiency and productivity and effectiveness and resources and squeezing the limit to get 2 more drops, and money and time. And on the lower end, those are people who say, hey, it's just money and time. It comes and goes. Don't put so much pressure on that, right? Waste a few bucks and enjoy your life, you know? The aesthetic, the purple bar. I hope I didn't offend a lot of our business owners right now, because most of you come with a high utilitarian. And as I'm explaining a low utilitarian, you're going to know that that's not my people, right? This is a values thing.
Yep.
Right. But we need some low utilitarians in our business in different positions. Anyway, the aesthetic is a purple bar. It's about beauty and form and harmony in life. It's about Zen. It's about, I want things to feel good around me, and I'm sensitive when they don't feel good. Really good marketing people can pick up a piece and just feel the thickness of the paper and say, that's right, that's going to hit home. And they just know it. They have that instinct. And low aesthetics don't care how it feels, how it looks. They clock in and they grind. And I don't care if I'm working late or Saturdays, you do what you have to, right? It doesn't have to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
The social is about altruism. This isn't like social butterfly, like a high I. That would be how you behave. This is why we behave this way. And this is about social justice. I believe in social causes on the high end. I feel the pain of others and want to take that away. On the low end, that means you're Hitler. No, it means you're indifferent to that. You don't wake up thinking, which charity case do I serve today? If you score low there, then don't feel bad about it. It just means that you know when to draw the line sooner than somebody who gives their last dollar to charity and believes that you got to save some people. There's no good and bad in these motivators. So I find that people judge themselves if they don't have a high. Shouldn't I give more if they don't have a high social? The individualistic is the black bar. It's kind of about power and prestige, but mostly it's about being an individual, being independent, right? Doing it my way. It's Frank Sinatra, right? On the high end, it's going to be like, watch me, don't micromanage me. I see this is another hallmark of business owners, entrepreneurs, some top salespeople. It's this, don't tell me how to do it, just watch how I did it, read the paper tomorrow kind of thing. And on the low end, it's I'm not driven by that. It's more like team wins are important. Right? If they're giving out trophies, give one to everybody. I don't need that, right? I don't need to be on the cover of the magazine. So it depends on what your culture is. If you're one of the best in your market and you're known as the bad boys of the construction trades, then you want high individualistic people on your team. You don't want a bunch of like people who are going to be offended because you're like, we did it again, right? You want people to give you a high five.
Yep.
And the traditional, that is about believing in something or belonging to something. On the high end, I see it with like religion or politics or patriotism. I might not know what you believe in, but if you score high there, you believe in it strongly. And in companies, it's like, this is our company's way. These are our people. These are our clients, So it's a real belonging. This is our system and we're going to follow it. And they're dogmatic about it. On the low end, those people are like open. They're like industry disruptors. Right? It's like, I don't care if you follow, Dale Carnegie or Sandler or whatever works to sell is what they would do. Right. Yeah. And the high traditionals would say, we need something proven that we've always used that always works.
And that's the way we do it. We're going to do it this way because this is the way we've always done it.
Yeah. So thanks for asking me to explain that a little bit. I kind of breezed through some highlights. I think would be cool is just kind of flip through these other candidates real quick so you can see motivators that look different.
Sure.
So there's a different set of motivators. That person is passionate differently than the person we were just looking at. And then let's look at that first person. And I'll explain how they're different if you want. But, the different motivator sets, the different people. That one's kind of similar to 3. Look at that. 1 and 3 have similar motivator sets. Mm-hmm. They would be good partners at work or in life because they value things similarly. Notice they have different behavioral styles. So candidate 1 has this moderate style where all of their scores are kind of near the 40 to 60 line, a little exception. I'm being general here. But that means they don't have any very extreme pieces of their personality or how they show up. They're not going to be this, right? And they're not going to be this. They're going to be warm. Right in the middle with their details. They're not going to be OCD and they're not going to be flippant, right? They're going to be in the middle. I have some standards. And this person here is just going to be a ball of fun and follow through, right? No confrontation whatsoever with these motivators wanting to accomplish the same things in life in the same way as this person, but doing it with a very different style. This person's not going to be high-eye and warm and engaging. They're a little bit more skeptical and cautious. You're going to feel a little bit more push from them. Kind of a similar amount of follow through and detail, but it's going to come across a whole lot cooler, right? And look at the skills. Boy, we were talking about colors earlier, right? Look at the skill set. These white ones here mean undeveloped.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're seeing here is somebody who has, these are kind of like averagely developed skills, that moderate blue and that light blue. And then those two dark blues are superpowers. This person has those skills built in spades. They're in the top 15 percentile of Americans. So they really have, those are great skills. And if I did hire this person, I just want to make sure that I'm leaning on those things, because really they're better at these two things than most other people. But notice
they have a lot of undeveloped skills here too.
Yes, very many. And a lot that entrepreneurs and managers really want to see in workforce, like personal accountability and self-management and goal achievement. Right?
Now, in this candidate, I noticed the acumen is quite ranged, that quite different than the other candidate as well. Could you speak to that?
I can. Yeah, that's interesting. Good. So the acumen is this graph here, and it talks about like, how do we think? Are we looking at things in a balanced way? Well, this person is really clear. Think of the worldview as the window. How do we see the world around us? Very clear. High bars, lots of clarity. I understand the world around me. But inside, I'm a little lost. I don't get me. Really, this person I spoke with directly, because I was a little bit concerned. I spoke with their manager first, but this was a very low sense of self and self-deprecating, and with a high sense of other people. It's like, I get who you are, but I don't know who I am. It really is kind of that happy clown or sad clown, that Robin Williams profile. Okay? Where it's like, I totally get you and I know how to make you laugh. How come I'm sad? I don't understand me. So I talked with them and was able to, whether they ended up hiring them or not, I was able to help this person understand themselves a little bit better. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
so
you don't want to bring that into your business. You need to talk about that. They got some stuff going on at home and it's going to spill over. So.
Yeah. So the reason why we're talking about this and why I love what art brings to this world, it's just amazing. So when I look at this, the two assessments we just looked at have some similarities where probably you could say some points of them are interchangeable. Their motivators were similar. This one has a higher D, which I kind of personally attracted to, like, hey, a project manager, I kind of want them to be a little bit more, in your chest, a little in your face, a little bit like, hey man, it's not okay. And let's go. And, a little bit of, I don't know, a little harsher, right? But then when I looked at the skills, I went like, oh, bummer. Like really, because I'm like, there's a lot of skills that this person has not developed and is not going to be very good at, in my opinion. And the other person had a lot of skills developed. So the idea of where we're just showing an example here, just an example of a job description we just created so that we could show you, but how it's not just one measurement that is good for everything. It's combination, and how and Art, you're the expert, so I want you to speak to this. But if you force me to choose one of these candidates today, because there's nobody else, and if I don't hire a project manager, whatever, I probably would lean to the one with the more developed skill set than the higher D, most likely. How do you like my thinking, or would you disagree, or am I just not understanding a lot of stuff that I need to understand?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. First, go for the skill set is what I'm saying absolutely about. Because it's just so well developed. Typically, if you took this for yourself, I'm going to find that most people have 1 to 4 in the dark blue range, and then 5 to 7 in this moderate blue, 5 to 8 in the light blue, and then 5 or 7 in the white. And you can see here that that's not the case here. We've got a bunch in the white, and they're going to be the ones that are that you're really going to want to lean on for project management.
Yeah.
Managing your own time.
Right.
So if I had to pick the two, I would go with the one with these skills, right? But also has a better self-esteem. They understand themselves better. They also have a better self-direction. They know where they're going in life. They may be a little bit more passive than what your preference is, Scott. But I would also go with the skills and that better self-identity because that's going to play a factor here.
Yeah. And one of the challenges that we have in small business is that we are typically trying to get a handful of things out of a position, right? It's not just like, hey, you're the CFO. I just need you to be good at numbers. That's it. You don't have to, it's we usually have quite a few hats we're trying to bundle in a position. And it seems to make sense to me that you're just going to have the candidate's going to do some things great, some things okay, and some things poorly. And the key is, can we eliminate the things they're going to do poorly and maybe put them into a different positions role? Or are they good at what we need them to be good at? And Art, you say this to me many times: the have to haves and the nice to haves. So is this candidate assessing well on the have to haves, and the nice to haves? Well, it's not as good as we wished, but those we're going to go ahead and go for the bullseye and take what we got, and the rest of it we'll figure out.
Yeah. I like that, Scott. And I've just clicked candidate 2 to show a different skill set. And this one is it's pretty well developed skill set, but more typical of what I'd see generally. And you notice that the skills, I'm going somewhere with this, but if you notice, the skills are in a different order on each person because they're printing in that person's hierarchy of what's highest to lowest. And what's interesting is you're going to find nobody develops all of these to the nth degree. So what's really important is we look at a project manager role. 2 things is, one, to get really super clear. We have 4 or 5 major responsibilities here: project manager, shop, HR. So we got some. What percentage of their time are they going to be in each of those things?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that's a critical thing to be clear about up front. Because if they're going to be in the shop 80% of the time, well, then I want high C, detail-oriented, organized, follow-through scheduling type of people to make sure that everything's perfect and ordered and in place. And if I need them out in the project management 90% of the time, I need people-oriented drive and, a different skill set. So choose what are the top 6 or 8 skills that are critical for this role. And hope that your candidate comes with those.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Other roles, maybe these folks would fit a different role. That was a project manager. How about sales? $1 million in sales. You know what? What a good lesson. Here's how quickly we can just save you a whole lot of money and pain. I wouldn't hire any of these folks for sales. Maybe, possibly this one. I like this one, but only because they would only sell because they need to prove that they were a good salesperson. Money's kind of important to them, but really these motivators are so important. It's the want to. If this is how you show up and get things done, this is what you want to get done in your life. What do you want your life to look like? What do you care about? What do you value? And what I want to see in salespeople is a utilitarian that scores about 55 to 75. This is close. I'll take it. Just a little lower than I want. It's just lower than I want. I don't see a lot of success in these folks. They could be a nice staff order taker, with the old clients that are always going to have you come back and do the shed again, But this person has more of a propensity to go get something new. And the higher that is, the more the propensity to man, I got 2 more sales in the month's almost over. I think I'm going to crush it. Is what you would get out of a high utilitarian. And out of a low utilitarian, you're going to go, the month's about to end. I got 2 more sales. I'm going to sandbag them for next month.
Yeah. Now let's sit on the utilitarian for a little while. This is something that I hear from you, is especially in the sales, if it's too high, there's some that speaks to us as well. Could you talk to that a little bit about a salesperson specifically, or is it anybody that scores very high in this area? What does that mean to us?
Yeah. Well, notice I said I wanted 55 to 75. It starts creeping above that when they become entrepreneurial, right? Mm-hmm. Most of you that take this assessment are going to be up there. So, these values are really, they're with us for a long time. It takes significant change. You can change these, but I would say out of these 4 graphs, this one's going to change least often. So what happens is when I'm talking about a person saying, hey, they don't have, I just wish they had more utilitarian, or hey, they got a 90 utilitarian. If you want to hire them, use them for 6-8 months, but they're going to be looking for a better deal, or they'll start their own company. They know that you can't pay them as much as they can generate on their own.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that Art brings to these discussions is how long do you think this person will stay with the organization? Will they be happy here? Is this person that is very likely to stay with us 10 years? Or is this person always going to be looking for a better opportunity, the next thing? And so, some of our positions, if not all of them, take a fair amount of onboarding, training. You put a lot of time and money into these people, and you really don't want them to be here for the short term. So we can get that kind of information here as well. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. And other things will pop up too. It could be as easy as his utilitarian score was right where you love it, but that aesthetic score is so low. Maybe your team, we've done assessments on some other people on your team, and your team is a nice, warm team. We like to create, we don't just paint houses, we create new spaces, right? We create a welcoming place for families to gather. We don't just put color on walls. This guy puts color on walls. So if your culture is one of beautiful spaces, he might want to sell, but not in this place. You guys are weird hippies to him. Mm-hmm. And I don't think either one of you are wrong. You're just wrong for each other.
Exactly. Beautiful. Might as well ask this question too, because I know someone's thinking it. What are those horizontal bars in that section? Those blue.
This section here,
yep. Mm-hmm.
That's the average score of Americans. So when you score higher than that, it means you're more passionate about that thing. This person here is a cowboy. They're a maverick. They do it their way. And it's just, they're unemployable. Totally unemployable. You can't tell them what to do.
Yeah. But so if the owner scored that high and then hired someone that high, would that be trouble?
I love this one. That's a great question. So 2 high individualistics can work great together if they both have their guns pointed downhill at the same target.
Got it.
But as soon as it goes like this, no. One of them, somebody has to win.
Yeah.
And they will kill themselves to kill the other person with an individualistic that high.
Yeah. And so we're going to get to this in our next recording, which will be for our team assessment, which you'll be linked as well. But speak to the benefits of us all being somewhat similar, and talk about a little bit how sometimes it's good to hire other positions that temper or offset or complement, maybe is a better word. What are some of the things that might be helpful as we use this tool in that regard?
Yeah. Well, first, I think it gives us a lens to understand people with, right? So it makes us, when we're coming up with our job description, we can be clear about that, because this person here is an absolute farmer, right? A great farmer, builds long-term relationships with people. right? But not a hunter killer, not a cold caller. Great skill set, and is going to go out in the world and is going to be the guy you go to for information and results. That's this person in a friendly way. I don't have to argue with you about it. I'll tell you why it's good, and we'll get it done. It'll be the best thing you've ever seen, right? And a great skill set. Boy, you may want to pause us here because I forgot the question.
So I'm just looking at the high individualistic, and what's going to be a nice an administrative assistant, who's the counterpart here that so I this is my, I want you to speak to this because this is my small brain thinking, like, hey, if we're opposites here, then we're just going to be all at each other's throat all the time. And that's kind of one thing I think, but then I think about who complements the high whatever. I mean, we're looking at a high individualistic, but so how do we take our, you keep saying this isn't right or wrong, this is who you are, but I have to imagine there's moments where it's like, you and I both have seen one once in my life where, there was two people that there was no wanting to implement the thing. We're both visionaries, and it's like, hey, someone's got to do something around here.
Oh, right.
The idea of how do we use some of these things to complement each other as much as the hiring decision, but get along together.
Yeah. So where I was going, I think, was with the complementing each other. And it comes from clarity of the job description. The job description, what do you need for the job? Let the job talk. Scott, you're asking me about the real big philosophical stuff here. And here's what I'm looking for whenever I'm doing this hiring stuff. I'm looking for a you-me conflict. I'm this type of person, Scott, you're that type of person, and we have a conflict. Or we don't, or you're an extrovert and I'm an introvert. We're different and we can help each other. Like, I need you to handle the cold callers and tell them no, and you need me to handle the banking, and because you hate that, right? But I need my job to talk first. First, there's a you-me conflict. Then there's a me-job conflict, right? So my job requires this or kicks out these rewards, and I'm this kind of person or loves these things in life, and that's a problem because they're different. Or that's fantastic because that's, I'm rewarded by that. That's your motivators.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then there's also a me conflict. And that is, I have these traits and I also have these traits and they don't seem to go together. How come I like to go out sometimes and then sometimes I just want to go home and read a book? So I look for those kinds of things. And what we want is let the job tell us. Imagine yourself as a business owner. You're just driving a car and the car is your business. You're not the car. What does the car say it needs? And that's the job. The job is, what does sales mean to you? And does that mean a farmer type of behavioral style? Do you need high negotiation skills? I don't know. See, there's some clients that I have that say, we don't negotiate. We put our estimates right into the system. It kicks out and that's what you get. You don't like it? We shave stuff off. We don't negotiate the price. And this person would fit in really nicely there.
Yeah.
So is negotiation, no negotiation skills, is that a bad trait to have for a salesperson? Maybe a half an hour ago, you would have said, yeah. But maybe you rethink it for your own company and say, yeah, we don't negotiate either. The price is the price.
Yeah. This is also just a reminder that while these are just sample little job descriptions for our discussion, one of the things I've learned from Art is the real specific details of what they're going to be asked to do. So for instance, we talk a lot about autonomy, like as a salesperson going to be on the road 90% of the time, there could be an element of isolation or loneliness in that moment. So you could be like, hey, if this is a person that needs a lot of community and a lot of, water cooler time and hanging out at lunch, that's important to know because we're not hanging out with you. You're going out there and you're writing, 5 bids a day, and we'll see you once a week at our sales meeting or something of that nature. And that's important because if we have someone that really needs that sense of, belonging and hanging out and all that stuff, this is going to be a tough one. And I've hired many administrative and operations people, and I'm always cognizant of someone that comes from the corporate world where there's 50 people on their floor and there's always someone to talk to and have lunch with. And I'm hiring for a company of 4, and 3 of them are out in the field somewhere. The owner's rarely there. The salesperson's never there. The project manager's not. You're going to be there by yourself. Is that going to be okay? Because
not this person.
Yeah.
Maybe this one. Right. And that's what we get to learn with the assessments up front, right? Is it going to be okay? And if we did get this person, maybe we could encourage them to make some phone calls on the road or set up their environment differently for them.
Yeah. And the other thing I look for that Art really is helpful with is, are there systems, and you open up the book to page 1 and do the system, or are you traditional, chaotic, crazy, and you're hiring someone to help with your chaos? Well, that person's going to need to have the strength to go, yeah, I can create a system if you don't have one. Yeah, I can research that, and I'll make that happen, and I'll smack you aside the head when you're out of line, and I'll make this work, and I'll figure this out. That's a person that you might need, and if you need them, you better know it so that these tea leaves tell you. Because if a person thinks they're going to walk in and go through orientation, you can't even spell orientation, then you got a problem, right?
Yeah. And typically that person without a system needs somebody else to put the system in place, but also needs, interestingly, a tough person to put it in place. Somebody who can stand up to an owner and say, hey, you're asking for way too much here, as you will always do. Mm-hmm. Which of these 10 things would you like for me to do today? Because you only get 4.
Yeah.
Interesting. You got to know what you need, what the job needs. And there was a point, Scott, earlier you said about like how to complement each other. And I think this is an interesting point that everyone should know, is that this is what you want out of your life. This is what you love, what you value, and similarities endure. In business partnerships and your friends, I assure you, your friends share your motivators. You guys like to talk about the same things, whatever you score high in. And I often see that opposites attract in behavioral style. This is how I go get this thing. It's like, if you love what I love, well, then I love you. Even if you drive me crazy in the way you go about getting the same thing out of life or building the same kind of business I want to build, you drive me nuts. But I need that nuts because I'm not that person. But I'm glad you see business the way I see it. It's a grind. We're winners. We follow the systems, right? Where other people will see that business differently, right? So make sure your motivators are a nice match to the job and to you.
Yeah. All right. We have a third position that we could just take a quick look at if you want.
Sure. Yeah. Administrative assistant. So first thing, of course, we're going to look at the details of it. Inbound phone calls. So interesting how phone calls work and how introverts work. Introverts don't like a lot of unplanned inbound phone calls unless they have scripted responses for known things. So just knowing that about people is important. So what are those kinds of phone calls? What kind of issues are they going to address? That's going to help you determine what kind of person you need and what kind of assessment results you want to have coming back. Mm-hmm. Marketing support.
Yeah. So some of this stuff is kind of just management. They don't have to be they're not. This isn't a marketing role, but we need to make sure the marketing plan was done. It's like a checklist. Like, hey, could you make sure it happens? So
calendaring, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm, exactly.
The same with the sales support.
Sales support. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Just file the stuff and make sure. Yep. All right. Yeah, this is really just an organized person. We want onboard new subcontractors the same way we always do, right? Do the payroll as we always do. So I'm looking for a lot of sameness in this person, a lot of nurturing of other positions. And sameness comes from this S in a style. S is about steadiness, sameness. They like routines. The higher that S, the more routine they love. the more sometimes rigid they become. They drive you crazy because no, they're doing spreadsheets and they won't stop to answer emails right now, but that you also like it because Mary's going to be here at 8 and the spreadsheets will be done by 11, but it's always the same. So I'm going to look for that in that assessment. And all those could work. A low S would come and say, I don't care how we did it yesterday, we'll just wing it. Higher S's are going to stick to that schedule. This is going to be more of a friendly person, so I would want to see more. There better be a lot of people interaction stuff, a lot of phone calls. If you told me it was like this was 60% of it, I'd say, yes, this is the person, right? They're going to be friendly, warm, engaging, non-confrontational, right? Educational, informative. Let's look at the others. This one's going to be easy keeled, kind of a more of a flat style. They don't have those extremes in it. So kind of a little subdued style. They're not super fast or super bright, and they're not skeptical or super slow. They're just in the middle. They get along with everybody. So easy going, but bring some of that follow through and detail orientation. I like that they're not as driven by money because this isn't like a commission type of position. If you have a decent culture there and the office is nice and they feel like, having a nice social for an admin position, I like this. Here's a secret. I like high social, low utilitarian profiles in my admin, my personal admin. People who really aren't always thinking about ROI. They're thinking about helping somebody. And I want to be their charity case. I want them to think, boy, Art looks stressed. What could I do? Right? And not ask me for a bunch of raises.
There you go.
And look for the traditional. I would also look for the traditional in here with administrative support. That can be helpful because it's a lot of structure. When I said onboard new subcontractors, the way we always do, that's S stuff, but also it's traditional stuff, the way we always do.
Yeah.
Follow
the rules.
Hey, how about this? How about this person here that we did not like some of their skill set for some other roles, right? Not a project manager, for sure. Mm-hmm. Could they do this admin role? Do they need to be good at leadership or negotiation or persuasion or presenting to do any of this stuff?
I would say not.
Probably not. Planning and organizing as a superpower? Scott, we didn't even just pull this up like let's look at some before we do this. I just pulled these up. And now I'm seeing somebody who really could fit this role really, really well. And when we were talking about them with project manager, I was like, what? No.
Yeah.
Still talk to them about what's going on here in life. Why are you feeling so lost? But let's get past that quick.
I think that's a perfect, exactly what we're trying to really show here is that job description, the position, and even more detail than I have here, sounds like for sure would be helpful, coupled with the assessment. You can see that this person, it could very likely do this administrative role, but we would say, I would not advise hiring this person for sales or project manager, but this third role, we think this might be a very good candidate for you. So it's really the magic in understanding the person as it relates to the job description, because this is a person that might be able to do this very well. And so we have a good candidate.
Yeah.
But
hey, it's like Match.com, right? For businesses. We're just trying to match to the job. But use your intuition, and you can swipe left and right like it's Tinder, and use your intuition like, I like the looks of that person, they might be a good salesperson. Or you can use some cool tools and use some assessments like OkCupid or whatever.
Yeah. Now there's a couple more things that I'd like to just quickly show that are in here. One would be, I think it would be the skills as far as the rank, the score, as it relates to mainstream. And then the other thing would be to show the sort of the feedback, how to relate or better engage with this person. Are those two things you could hit on?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Scott. So with the skills, we're looking at their competencies, and I said these colors were important, but how important? We said over here in these motivators that we knew the average score of Americans, because millions of people, of Americans and across the world take this assessment every year. So we know the average scores and where people fall. So let me show you what looking at the skills really kind of looks like with those interpersonal skills. And one cool thing about these skills is it breaks it out and explains what are we measuring. So if you want to know what do they mean by interpersonal skills, here it is. So they can effectively communicate and build rapport. They scored 100 out of 100, fantastic. The average score of Americans is 68. And this orange shaded area, that's one standard deviation. That means nerd talk for 68% of the population scores in that area. So that means 34% here and 34% there. So what we could say about this person is they scored above average, but even above mainstream. Anytime you score beyond that orange area, you're better than most other people, right? Only 15% of people can score beyond the orange. And that's why this candidate number 3, we saw that skill set that they have, and they have all these skills there in that dark blue. It tells us that they're well developed, and that means more developed than most other people. So let's look at a different skill just to kind of like see how most people would score. So goal achievement, they scored a 67, average score 68. What I would say about that is they scored just below average in a mainstream kind of way. How about this? Look, below average, a very low score, but notice that most Americans don't have very good empathy skills. We're not good at identifying and caring about others. So the average score of Americans is 36, and they only scored 13, but it's mainstream kind of score. It's not in the toilet. Actually, if we're looking at comparatively, they score better with empathy against other Americans than they do employee development against other Americans. You see that? Mm-hmm. So we get some really cool nerdy data. You don't have to know all that. You're going to want to jump first to me talking about this graph page because I can give you cool insights. And then after the fact, you're going to want to jump to like really cool pages like, hey, what's this person going to bring to my company? Person 3 negotiates conflicts. They're a team player. They're a creative problem solver. I'm going to like those. This page says, what am I going to like about this person? Hey, how should I talk with them? Mm-hmm. How do I get their fingers out of their ear long enough for me to get through to them? Read their body language for approval or disapproval. Because they have that lower D, they might not tell you that they disapprove of what you're telling them to do. Hey, what we're going to do is we're going to raise our sales quota to 15 grand instead of 10 this week, right? And they might not say, I don't like that. So knowing that's important. What not to do. Don't talk down to them. Don't drive on to facts and figures. Don't talk in a loud voice. Some of these sound like, hey, you shouldn't do that with any kind of people, but some people are really sensitive to it, these kinds of things. Like some people won't care if you tell them, hey, this is the way I think we're going to do it, and this is the way we're going to do it. Some people are going to be cool with it. This person would not like it one bit. We could go to somebody else's page and they'll have a totally different set of instructions on how to communicate with them. Hmm. What's really cool is how they waste their time. How about these pages? This person here might overreact to constructive criticism. What I love about this page is here's why they might. And here's some possible solutions. They should practice listening without evaluating comments first. So when people start screwing up in the workplace, you're probably going to find it on these pages. This is how they prolong events. They procrastinate to gain improved results. And that's a typical thing when the C is higher than the D. So what they're doing is taking all my nerdy talk of these numbers and putting it into stuff you can use. Are these the kinds of pages you were talking about?
Yeah, they are. Exactly. Yep.
The good ones.
Yeah.
How about for our own personal development? I like this one. This one is amazing. Our perceptions, how we see ourselves. This person sees themselves as precise and diplomatic, thorough, analytical, right? They think they're a researcher, but really under stress, other people think they're fussy and picky and strict and hard to please. And that's, like in their blind spot. So I often like to coach people and say, hey, listen, when this happens and people misread you as this, remind them, hey, I'm not trying to be too picky or fussy. I just wanted to give you thorough information, right? And remind people, I'm not trying to be haphazard and flaky. I was just trying to be fun and upbeat. But you'll also have these pages, which are really amazing. How do I motivate this person and manage them? Which carrots do I dangle? Which sticks do I use?
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
This is great stuff.
I agree, but I'm biased.
Yeah, I know. I am too.
I know. We just need to get more people doing it so they have great companies and they don't doubt themselves or pay somebody way too long. I hate it.
So this is just a very small sample of how this can go. And you could see there's almost infinite combinations, job description. I mean, it goes on and on. But the reason why I wanted to do this with Art is because this is accessible. Art is accessible. We have a program that for any key position, we prefer pre-hire because we think it gives you the information you need to go, is this hire going to, work within my system and within the job description and all that. So we think this is a really critical thing to do when you have a candidate that you really like and think highly of, but would like to know this information. This is when you use it, and it's so cost effective. If you had several candidates or even 3 or 4 or 5, it would still make sense to assess them. We recently had a situation where someone hired a project manager to replace someone that was moving and did not think about doing this. And the candidate or the person was hired actually came into the role, and a couple weeks in, all the workers started complaining. This guy's not respectful. He's very difficult to work with, on and on and on. And that information would have been discovered had we used the assessment, and actually the owner moved quickly to terminate and rehire. So we think it's really money well spent. It's going to help you, one, determine if this person is good for the position. Secondly, how to help coach and nurture around some things that aren't as strong as you wish. Remember, I said the nice to haves, not the have to haves. And then thirdly, how to have them understand some of their behaviors and how to understand, who they are and how to work within the system, and how you can help them, coach around, so it's them understanding themselves and you understanding them to give you some tools, some handles, so to speak, of, hey, when this happens, this person always gets quiet or gets angry or seems to be frustrated or doesn't follow through, or, you could go on and on. Why is that happening? And what I'm going to suggest is why it's happening and what to do about it is very likely in here.
Scott, I'm grateful for you because you articulate what I do better than I do, and I appreciate you. Thank you. And it's very helpful. I hope many of you use this stuff. It's good and cost effective, and it'll save you pain. I hate pain. I like ease in my business. I like money to flow into my bank account and not have people problems to deal with.
Yep. So if you want to know more about these tools and way to get hold of Art, we'll have the program linked in the show notes, and make sure you check out the team webinar that's we'll attach there as well. And if we can serve you in any way to help you get better at your hiring process and understanding not only your candidates, but your current management people, we'd love to do so. We believe in the tools and we think it will really be helpful to you. So reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you. Art, thanks as always. You're amazing.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate you so much.